Stephen, you were nominated for Army Times Soldier of the Year in 2012 for saving a person's life in a ruck march in the desert in Africa and for community service. You got the call, or you found out at one moment that you were Service Member of the Year. How did that happen? I mean, what went through your mind?
I mean, it was nuts, right? I mean, that call changed everything, right? It changed the entire trajectory of my life, right? So before I deployed, I had failed out of community college twice. I'd got that little letter in the mail that says, thanks, but no thanks, try again later. And so when I was in the process of coming back, everybody's trying to pick up their lives. I was a reservist, so everybody, comes back and goes back to work, goes back to school, but I didn't have that, right? Because I had just failed out twice. But what I did have was a very persistent mother who encouraged me to reapply to school. And so as I was in the process of resubmitting that application and preparing myself mentally to appeal the inevitable rejection, I get that call saying, hey, you've been selected as a Soldier of the Year. And like I said, it changed everything. I mean, not drastically, not immediately, but very subtly. It adjusted the trajectory of my life just a degree, right? Which 100 miles down the road makes the world of difference. So as I go to participate in the ceremony, start meeting all these people, I start interacting with Military Times, with leadership there that helped me really think about how to tell my story, how to frame my experiences. And then I find myself interacting with circles of business leaders and nonprofit leaders and senior executives from the government, all these people who can help me think strategically about my future. And so I start gaining all of this experience, gaining all this perspective on my life. I come back, which makes my my justification for why I'm a better student now than I was 2 years ago, all the more successful. And so I get back into college at the University of North Texas. I'm going to school, and then I get excited about maybe trying to be a White House intern. And so I apply for that, and this helps that case tremendously. I get in to be a White House intern, and then I was able to, after I graduated college, transition that into an appointment in President Obama's administration. And so I stayed in the administration until the very last day, and then I transitioned to graduate school at Johns Hopkins University. And then after I finished that, I came to the Boeing Company, where I get to do a lot of community investing here in the DC region.
And you're working with veterans, you're doing community outreach with Medal of Honor recipient Florent Groberg?
Yeah, I sure am. Actually, I started as Flo's intern at the Boeing Company, so I like to give him a hard time about that. But yeah, now that I'm there full time, I mean, the majority of my time is spent trying to help veterans and military family, programs that are being successful, right? We have a moral responsibility to help our brothers and sisters in arms, and Boeing has answered that call, tremendously. And so I spend the majority of my time, seeking out nonprofit organizations that are moving the needle and trying to find ways to support them.
Every service has its Member of the Year, Soldier of the Year, Sailor of the Year, etc. Having that name in your title, what has it done for you in terms of having an impact with those veterans?
I rarely bring it up, but when I worked with Flo, he always would tell people, right? And you could see the immediate, kind of just difference it made in people, where they kind of start taking you. I mean, like I'm a younger guy, right? And so, I go into these meetings with all these senior, leaders, and they kind of, are talking to Flo, and then Flo would say, hey, this is like the Soldier of the Year, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like, and they start talking about it. I think it gives you. More credibility in the discussions, but not necessarily just because of the title, but because of the experiences you've had afterwards, right? Because of the people, the conversations you've sat in, the people you've spoken to. It gives you a better perspective on what's going on in the military and what's going on and how it applies.
Sitting on one side of the table is a Medal of Honor recipient and a Military Times Service Member of the Year. Not everyone can become a Medal of Honor recipient, not everyone gets to deploy, but anyone in the military is really up for being a Service Member of the Year. What do you think people should be thinking about now that this season's coming up?
If you're sitting in your community and you see a service member out there going above and beyond, just really doing an incredible job, it's on you. Like, you should take a moment and write down what they're doing and submit it to the Army Times. Work with their chain of command to create a compelling packet and submit their name for consideration. Because these soldiers, or everybody, right? These service members are out there just doing their job, every day, just doing what they believe is right by the people they live with, by their community, by their soldiers. And they may not think of themselves as qualified for this award because they're just doing their job, right? But you see what it is. You see these people. You can put the bigger picture together and say, look, this guy is going above and beyond the call of duty. And so I would say, look, it's on us. Recommend them for this award. You've got time. So write it out and submit their information, because they deserve to have their story told. They deserve to have their life changed in the way that it's changed mine.